Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
We're at a turning point in America. This bill is crucial, and history will look back on it and say, did America fail itself? Why is it crucial? Well, if we don't aid Ukraine, Putin will walk all over Ukraine. We will lose the war, and we could be fighting in Eastern Europe in a NATO ally in a few years. Americans won't like that. If we don't help Israel defend itself against Hamas, that perpetual war will go on and on and on. If we don't help humanitarian aid to the starving Palestinians in Gaza, hundreds of thousands could starve. And the border, everyone has said it's chaos. A speaker, you just saw Speaker Johnson, he said it's chaos, we have to do something legislative a few months ago. But what has happened, in answer your question, so this is crucial for America. It's a turning point. History is going to look over our shoulders and say, did we rise to the occasion? To his credit, Mitch McConnell did. But too many Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, are just scared to death of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has said he wants chaos.
Right.
Donald Trump has said, well, wait till I become president. That'll take at least a year. Ukraine could be gone. The border will get much worse. War in the Middle East will get worse, maybe bringing us into it. He's doing it all for political reasons. And let me just say, will senators, the crucial question, the $64,000 question, the majority of Republican senators know this bill is the right thing to do. It's a compromise. I don't like everything in it. Neither does McConnell. But it's a compromise. That's the only way you get things important done in the Senate. We proved that 2 years ago in our bipartisan legislation. And will the senators drown out the political noise from Trump and his minions and do the right thing for America? It's a crucial question. History is looking down on every one of us right now.
You know, this is about the border package. It's a $118 billion border package that has $20 billion going to the border. It has changes in the asylum, raises the level of, peril you must be in order to even have a legitimate claim of asylum. And it ends catch and release. Yes, it does, where instead of, waiting years or sometimes, even months to have, a judge hear your claim of asylum to determine whether or not it's legitimate, you are released from detention into the interior of the country, especially if you have relatives or a close friend that you can call, and the immigration, the Border Patrol knows where you're going. Then they'll release you pending the adjudication of your asylum claim. This bill ends that. And you should, every Republican ought to be like, yay, because this is what they've been after for 30 years. 30 years, decades, they have wanted to change catch and release. So what happens now? Well, in this scenario, in this bill, what would happen is you would get caught. See, people who are crossing the border, they want to get caught because when they get caught, they can make their asylum claim, right? And so in this instance, not only do we raise the bar for what is and what isn't a legitimate claim of asylum, it can't be economic, it can't be, hardship. It has to be your life is in danger, which is what asylum was originally intended for. Okay, so that's number one. And number two, you are heard while you are in detention. So whether or not you have a legitimate claim to asylum is now determined in detention when you're initially taken in. But that requires personnel, and that requires money to pay those people to hear those asylum claims under the new rules, raising what constitutes a claim of asylum. So that ends catch and release. It does. And if you don't have a legitimate claim, then you are, sent back right away. And this money is also for flights. It's for flights back to wherever you came here from. So there's that. And then if you do have a legitimate claim of asylum, then a judge will hear your claim within 6 months, but the entire time that you're waiting to have a judge hear your claim, you are either in government detention or supervised by the government. So nobody disappears anymore into the interior. Now, every Republican ought to be for that, every single one. The only reason why any of them are not, Donald Trump doesn't want the issue solved. Donald Trump wants the issue. And everybody knows that. Every single thinking person knows that. And then to add absurdity to what's already bizarre, they're trying to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, because he doesn't have the tools to do what they want done. And if they would give him the legislative tools, if they would actually legislate a different asylum standard, a different, speed of hearing a claim of asylum, a different form of deportation and change the amount of time that people have, the whole thing would be enforceable by Alejandro Mayorkas, but he doesn't have those tools. He doesn't have them. That's another reason why Crazy Boy over the weekend said, well, if I were president again, I would solve the problem I failed to solve last time, apparently, by invoking 212F, which was a COVID emergency paragraph in the current immigration law that he was able to invoke, having to do with protecting the United States from a global pandemic. This is crazy. I mean, the hypocrisy of Mayorkas being impeached at the very same time that they won't take up immigration reform legislation in the House, saying it's dead on arrival. Dead on arrival.
On Saturday, Mr. Speaker, you proposed a new standalone aid package to provide funding for Israel. It, of course, comes just hours before the Senate is set to unveil the details, the text of its border deal, which would also include funding for Israel and Ukraine. You just heard Jake call it a ploy, a political stunt. Why not wait for the Senate to put out their bill first?
Well, let's make a couple of things clear here, Kristen. You know, we passed the support for Iran many months ago, 3 months ago.
Wait, what? Support for Iran? Wait, what? Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, little Mike Johnson there. So what he is proposing is to fund only Israel in a standalone package. Why is he doing that? He's doing that because, A, it changes the text of the Senate bill that was passed out of the Senate. And I think we all are sophisticated enough to know that if you change even a punctuation mark in a Senate bill in the House, then it has to go to a conference committee to sort out the difference. So he's introducing this package for Israel so that it would change the text of the Senate bill that they just passed. That's number one. Number two, he's an evangelical Christian who believes that, he has to defend Israel so that all the Jews will go back there and then we will die and the Messiah will come back. So he's very, but the Freedom Crackers, they're not going to vote for his Israel bill. You know why? Because they were trading Israel's security for cuts to the IRS. Remember that? Yeah, and that's absent from Mike Johnson's bill. There's no cuts to the IRS. It's a standalone Israeli bill. And he only did it because it would change the text of the Senate bill, and that would make it dead on arrival in the House, or having to go to conference committee, which could take another, year. And by then, they believe they'll have the president of their wet dreams, Orange Jesus. This is a very sick and twisted government we have here. No national security. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.